All right, good afternoon, everybody. So I've been doing a little bit more playing around with the powder coating. I did some of my toaster oven over there using my Eastwood kit. And the results aren't too bad. I've also tried torch curing some parts. And I decided I would like to have an oven big enough to do powder coating, but I don't want one that's electric that I have to keep here in my garage. So I'm going to turn this barrel and this old fish cooker into a propane oven for powder coating. I know a lot of people are consider that dangerous because of the open flame and all, but this oven isn't going to be here in the garage where I'll be spraying the parts. It's going to be outside, away from the dust cloud. It's the powder when it's suspended in air that becomes super flammable and explosive. Flour would be the same way. Or powdered sugar, you throw a big cloud up in the air, it'll catch fire and burn. So I'm not too concerned about that, being that this will be operated outdoors, away from where I'm spraying the powder. And this barrel is 2 foot in diameter, and I believe it's 32 inches tall. So that gives me a lot of space to heat a part. It already has a few built-in bungs. I'm probably just going to cap those off, or this one rather. This will be where I let the heat in, so I'll actually cut a hole larger out so the heat from that burner can actually go up inside, and I'll put a deflector plate in there to make it wrap around the inside of the barrel instead of just going straight up onto the part. And that'll allow for a little bit more even heating inside. I'm probably also going to put a vent on the bottom. I'll cut a hole out there so that if I really wanted to, maybe I can actually set the barrel on the fish cooker itself just upright and use its legs to support it for doing much larger parts. With a 24-inch diameter barrel like this, you could theoretically fit something like a 20-inch wheel in here, or a nice long oil pan like what's in the Ario truck. Sure, I could powder coat parts for the 240, the valve cover and the oil pan for it in a regular oven, and I do have a spare one in the basement I could drag up here and install over there and plug in where my welder's hooked up, but that's just another hunk of space of my garage taken up that I really don't want to give up. This, when it's completed and it's not in use, I can just leave it outside. It's also not going to cost me much of anything because, well, I have a barrel, I already have a fish cooker, I got plenty of old broken up T-posts I can use to make a frame for it to sit on. I've still got more tater digger belt that I can use to make a rack or whatever to set parts on. Grate, if you will. And, well, I got a piece of steel there I used for making the alternator backs for the Ario truck. I can use to make a hinge, turn the lid into a door. So, yeah, I have no plans drawn up for this. I'm just got an idea in my head, and I'm going to wing it. So, let me get these frame parts cut up and measured, and I'll see what I come up with a layout for that, and I'll bring you back to show you up the progress. All right, y'all, I got the little barrel stand made up, put together. All the pieces are 24 inches except for the 2 little crossbars here. I made them 20 inches to set the barrel up and give me enough clearance under the burner there so that I could slide it out if I need to, for whatever reason. I put the V-band back on the lid right now because I'm trying to figure out my hinge here. So I went out to my pile of scrap metal to see what else I had. And, well, I've got this bagger mount for an old Craftsman lawnmower. And I think it'll work good to make my hinge for my door. I'm going to have to cut it down some. But it's got a hole right here all the way, goes all the way through. I can stick a pin in there once I get those old welds cut loose, and it should pivot there. I can trim the back side of it off so it'll sit down in there properly, and I can trim this top back piece right here off some so it can swing all the way back freely, so the lid can be moved all the way out the way. And that piece I cut off the back side here I can mount to the lid of the barrel and weld onto this end. I might have to take a little pie cut out to tighten this radius up, but I should be able to make a hinge that will allow the lid to swing up completely out of the way. It'll swing down, gravity will hold it in place, and when it's swung up, gravity should hold it open. So I'm going to get to cutting these welds out and getting this thing chopped up and see if I can turn it into a hinge. I've got that piece all cut up now. I actually went and I welded a couple pieces of round stock to either side of this half. I did my pie cut here and I did a little notch. It doesn't have to be that big because this band isn't going to be on here. And I just have this clamped in place temporarily. Now the two holes here on either side are different sizes, so I'm going to bore these out on this side of the clamp so it'll be the same size as what's in the middle piece here. That way it just won't have any slop in it. And the inside hole is 5/8, so I'll just bore this 1/2 inch hole out to 5/8 and stick a 5/8 bolt all the way through, and that should keep the lid from being really sloppy. After I get that done and get the bolt in, I'll go ahead and clean the barrel up here, and I'll weld this half the bracket to it. And then I'll come down here, get these cleaned up, and I'll weld this bracket to here. And the last thing I'll do is I'll weld this part of the bracket to the lid. Now I want to do all that with the lid clamped on with the V-band. That way I know everything's aligned the way it should be, and it'll open and close without too much slop. And I think I'm going to put a handle over here so I can just swing the door up and open and back around closed from the side. So that's what I got going on thinking about. I also picked me out another piece of scrap metal out of my scrap pile here. I cut about 3 inches off of this, and probably right around here in the middle somewhere. I'll make a little stack. I'll weld a nut into it with a bolt so that I can have a little flapper to control how much ventilation it gets. That'll help me control the temperature of this oven. And I actually ordered a smoker thermometer gauge, and I'll drill a hole somewhere here in the lid to mount that. Probably somewhere right in the middle. That'll be the average temperature in the oven. I don't want to be up high or down low. I want it somewhere close to the middle here so you can see it and see the temperature, because this isn't going to have automatic temperature control. I'll have to adjust the gas flow and the damper I install on the top in order to keep a consistent temperature, but it should work for curing the powder coat. So that's why I'm going on right now. I'm going to go ahead and go to Tractor Supply and get the bolt I'm going to need before they get closed. And I'll come back and do a little bit more finishing up on this hinge. And alright, y'all. I got the hinge mounted on up. Made a little handle for it. A little piece of loose pipe jiggling on there. That way, if it gets hot, well, shouldn't burn you. Got the lid all fitted. I went ahead and removed the original rubber seal. I know it'll melt out eventually. If I really need it to seal that well, I can add a piece of that rope like you seal a wood stove door with. I took a pie cut out of here to make this sit a little bit more flush, so it won't be catching on this lip here when you go to open and close it. Probably didn't really have to do it, but I didn't want to have any issues. I wanted to open and close nice and smooth. I wanted the weight of the door and the hinge itself be enough to hold it shut. And it is. It'll move over here. So yeah, I do think I'm gonna have to weld a few little tabs or something to the barrel just to keep it from rotating on the stand there, so it'll stay vertical upright. I don't want to actually weld the barrel to the stand because that'd make it kind of heavy and awkward to move. As it is, I can lift the barrel up off of here and move the stand separately. So I'll probably just weld on a few little ears or tabs to bump into the rails up here. Next day, and Well, I need to do a little work to the backhoe today. Last night after I finished filming, I went ahead and cut a hole for my little vent here on the oven here. And today my little smoker thermometer has arrived, so after I get this backhoe fixed, I'll go ahead and get to working on that. Let me show you what I got going on here. Last time I was using it, I noticed half one of my pins is gone. Now this pin is supposed to have a grease fitting like this one here. I'll have to make one of those. I couldn't find a place to buy these exact pins, but for now I'm going to grease this up and install it. The other side's held in by a bolt, and I've already taken that bolt out. Now I just got to get this pin drove out and grease this up and get it stuck in. And that'll hold me over until I can get a new one made. I have some steel rod 1-inch thick coming today that I can mill up on my mini lathe and my drill press to make a new grease fit pin. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and get this installed. That'll get me by. And then I'll hop back on to working on the powder coating oven. See if I can't just get it usable today. Maybe I'll be able to powder coat something tomorrow and try it out, see how it runs. I'm definitely going to have to warm it up and burn off all the paint and crud that's in it before I put anything into powder coat. So I'm hoping to get it done enough today that I can move it out the garage tomorrow after I change the fuel pump in the 240. The fuel pump isn't coming in until tomorrow. It's going to be a busy week. Alright y'all, I got the old pin out and I got my new temporary one in, and you can see here where it broke is where the little grease fitting squirts the grease out into the eye of the hydraulic cylinder. And so that was a weak spot in that pin. Now my temporary pin, it's a wee bit long, but it'll do the job. It ain't gonna go nowhere. And the bolt hold it just like the original. When my new metal stock arrives, I'll probably actually take this out and cut it off and see if I can't just mill the grease fitting into this one, since I got enough extra material here. If not, I'll mill out a whole brand new one, but that'll save me from having to make this hole. All I'll just have to do is drill the hole for the grease zerk and the grease passage and make this little cross hole here, and it'll be good. But this will get me by till that arrives and I get the chance to do that. So I'll go ahead and get the tractor moved back out of the way and get back to working on my oven. I got my little vent made up here. I welded some lugs onto the side of the barrel here. And I cut a few notches for the groove, and those lugs will just make sure I get it lined up nice and flat and level every time I put it up on the stand. I got the pressure relief valve removed and got its hole filled in. And I just cut out the hole to let the heat in from the bottom. And I got my deflector plate cut out, and I'm fixing to go through drilling some holes and installing some riv nuts so I can get that deflector plate bolted in place, and we'll see how that goes. After that, I should be ready to give it its first test heat up. And I'll see how evenly it heats, how well it maintains temperature at certain areas. And after that, it should be ready for me to install some brackets in here for hanging parts and maybe for setting a grate on. And then I guess I'll clean it up and give it a coat of paint, and it'll be ready to use. Of course, I'll have to try powder coating something. I ain't got nothing ready offhand, but I'm sure I'll come up with something. So I'm gonna get a little bit more done, get this heat deflector installed, and try it out and see how it works. All right, y'all. Got the hole cut on the bottom. Got my heat deflector installed with some standoffs. See if you can see that there. I put about 1 3/4 off the side of the barrel there. That should cause the flame to come up and go around the sides of the barrel here, instead of just going straight up to the part. So now I think I'm ready to finally take it outside and give its first test heating it up and see how it maintains the temperature. Cook off a lot of the crud that's on it. Then I'll have to bring it back in and decide where I'm going to put my mounts for my rack and for hanging parts. Or make any changes else I need to do. So let me go ahead and get this taken outside and hooked up, and I'll bring you back for seeing how it's cooking. Alright y'all, I just got it lit up. Temperature's coming up. Slowly. Want to make sure we can get all the way up here to 400 and be able to hold steady around 350 to 375. Starting to get warm. Getting a little crust burning off. Looks like we're up 325. And 375 just about. Alright, we reach 400 degrees. I believe she'll work. I think she'll go even hotter than that. Not going to push it too much. I'm going to back it back down once we get up to 500. That should be hot enough to burn off all this crap. I'm going to back up for a little bit and stay out of the smoke, but looks like she's slowing down, like she might just get to 450. Still climbing. That paint stink. $475. Just barely getting to 500. I'm gonna turn it down now and see if I can't get to hold steady a certain temperature. That's that label burning off of there. She's holding steady around 500. Don't need to hold steady that high. Turn this heat way down. At least she warms up fast. And holding steady on the temperature though. I've got the vent all the way open. Of course the door ain't exactly sealing all the way at the moment. I'll have to bend it a little bit to get it closed tighter, but at the moment I don't think that's too big of a deal. Let's turn it down a little bit more. Barely running. And she's coming down some. Give her a couple minutes. See if I can get down to where I can keep a steady 400 degrees or 375. I'd prefer 375. Hopefully I can get this test done before this rain comes. Whew! Storming all day. She's still dropping. Not down to where I need it to be though. Not quite yet. At least I know it gets hot enough. See what I can do with this, if I can get hold of steady temperature, I can preheat it to that temperature and then just open the door and put the part in. Set a timer. Alright. Looks like we're right at about 400. See if I can get down. Yeah, it's still going down. Alright. So she ticked down just a little bit. See if I can do a little fine adjustment here. Close some of that off. Holding pretty close there. I have to turn the fuel back up just a hair. Alright, and we're holding at 375, it looks like. Ain't going down or up. Cool. That's good, because a lot of the powder coat, like the primer and stuff, is between 325 and 400. So as long as I can keep it steady in that range right there, I think she'll powder coat, or at least cure it. I don't think I got enough time to prep and powder coat a part to stick in here and test it, but I'm sure gonna give it a try. Let me go ahead and get this shut down and see if I can't get something ready to stick in there. Alright, she's holding steady right there. 375. Sweet. Not fluctuating much. I'm gonna call that a success. Let me go ahead and get something prepped up and we'll see. I wonder what it looks like inside now. Oh, not too bad. Whew, it is warm in there. Alright, I'm gonna shut it down. I'll go in and see if I can't just prep me a part before the rain hits. Be right back with you. Alright, y'all, I know this isn't a big part, but especially for that big old oven. But it's fixing the storm, and I want to give it a test before it does. So we're going to give this a try. I'm going to put some Super Chrome Plus on this. And then we're going to stick it in the oven. I used my big old fishing magnet, so I'll have a way of hanging it after I get it coated. Alright, let's get some powder on it. Come around the other side if I can. Well, wrapped around pretty good. Not perfectly, but pretty good. Alright. That looks good for this test. The oven should be good and warm, so let me get y'all off the tripod and we'll take this out and hang it up in there and see how it does. I believe this Super Chrome cures at 400 degrees for, I think, 10 minutes. Once I stick it in, I'll double check. But, just a quick little bracket. Yeah, we're a little over temp, but I turned it up kind of high so it wouldn't take long for it to recover. Whew, I can hear that thunder. There, we'll stick that right there. Close it up. All right. Wait for her to come on up to temp. I'm gonna look at the clock and see what time it is. I'm gonna shut y'all off and I'll bring you back when the timer's up, because we're almost to temp. All right, y'all. It's been about 10 minutes and it's been sitting at 400 degrees this whole time. I've been in the garage because the bottom is just about to drop out. Yeah, she dropped a little bit in the last few minutes because of the wind. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. Take the part out with my little pair of needle nose pliers here and go hang it up inside and see how she looks. Oh. Ooh, she's already looking good. Let me get her out of here so y'all can get a better look. Snazzy. That ain't bad at all. I believe if I'd done a little bit better prep work, I wouldn't have those little scratchy lines in there, but I'm gonna hang her back up here so I can get a good look at it. I've powder coated this one part about 4 times now. There was still a little bit of the cheap Harbor Freight powder coat left on there, and it looks like it bubbled and blistered a little bit. But all in all, I'm happy with that. It did the job. It melted the powder coat. Nice and clean and smooth and glossy. Now this is supposed to have some clear coat put over it. And I got the clear, but because this is just a test, I'm not going to bother this time. But yeah, I'd say that oven's a good success. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to be done for tonight. And I think tomorrow I'm going to start putting some racks in, but I might wait until after I get this video published because I got to install a fuel pump tomorrow. And I can't have them both in the garage at the same time, and well, this storm is going to be here tomorrow. So how about this? I'll get this put up and away, and y'all let me know what kind of rack should I put in here. How should I do that? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.